Hey everyone, welcome to the J RENDINA podcast. I got a special guest. It's Alina Rendina. What's up?
Hey guys.
So what we're going to be going through on this podcast of what it means to be an entrepreneur. Again, please like, subscribe, share this podcast. My goal is really to help bring value and raise the standards of small business. Alina and I have been small business owners for years, and we want to bring value to you. So if you know anyone who is looking or thinking about starting a small business, or who has a small business, share this to them. This will deliver some content to them. And you guys are going to know the truth about what it is to be an entrepreneur because it's really not all that it seems to be. So we're going to deep dive into that. Anything you want to say in the intro?
Nope.
Nothing?
Nope.
Cool.
Yeah.
How's your morning?
It was good.
What you do?
I trained some clients, which is awesome. And I made a couple lead calls so far. And now I'm doing this with you.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a jam-packed day.
I mean, not really. It's only 10 a.m. And there's way more to come.
More than what people do before 12. You've done already.
Maybe. That's one way to look at it.
It's the right way. So let's dive into the first question. How do you define an entrepreneur?
To me, an entrepreneur is somebody who is a ultimate problem solver. So somebody who can solve problems, because that's essentially what you're doing all the time. You're solving people's problems and then you're solving your own problems. And it's somebody who is innovative and creative and who can create and paint a picture of what they want to deliver and somehow help people along the way.
Nice. It's a good definition.
Thanks.
You like it? You like being an entrepreneur?
I love it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hate it, but most of the time I love it.
Well, let's start, I would say, like, firstly for me, that's similar when an entrepreneur is. It's someone who is a creator, right? And sometimes there's a lot of bad things about being an entrepreneur too, which we could talk about. But what do you like about it first? Let's dive into what we like about it and what people can know, like if they're interested, like why they would want to be a business owner or an entrepreneur.
What I love about being an entrepreneur is my ability to, there's flexibility and freedom. I love that I can work with clients in a way that is, again, solving their problems. And I love that. I love the reward of being an entrepreneur and not the reward of necessarily, yes, like what you want to create coming to life, but also the reward of working with people and helping people in a way that is authentic to me. That's what I love about it. And just having the freedom to really do what you want within your business and then also outside of your business because of your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. What about you?
I just like it because it's like what I was born to do. We always talk about that. I was born to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. I remember working for someone and just hating my fucking life. And I was like, I can't do this. I got to learn how to do it on my own. And then now that I'm in it 7 years, it's like, damn, this is what I'm made to do. Like we talk about it all the time. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to build a business so I can just travel. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to build a business to be like involved in it and create. Like, that's what I do. And that's what it just gets me going. And, I'm a visionary, as I said. What happened the other day? It's like, we learned that my attention to detail is not good.
Not good at all.
What was the story?
Oh, so we had a meeting with Joe CFO and, we're on the way to the meeting. We had to just change up the location based on our schedules. And he is like, can you look through my emails and see if his number's in there anywhere? Because I don't have his number saved. And he has like hundreds of emails with this one person. So I'm sitting in the car, like looking, trying to find a number in these emails. And I was like, let me just try something I didn't try immediately, which is my fault too. So I go to his contacts and I put in the person's name and it shows up and he put in the person's name differently. So he really just looked it up wrong, didn't think to try a different way. And just instead of being efficient, it was like, let me sift through tons of emails. So definitely a low attention to detail.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you've read Traction. I think you told me about that, right?
I didn't read Traction.
Okay. But you work with a coach who does it.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think about it?
About
the book or the concept of it.
Different asses and different seats.
Yeah. Or just in general what it is. So if you guys don't know what Traction is, it's a book written by this guy, Gino Wickman. And they talk about a system for entrepreneurs. And it's called the EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. And I'm reading it right now and I'm bringing it into my company. And what I realize is two things they talk about is at the top of your organization, you have the visionary, and then right below them, you have an integrator who takes the vision from the visionary and then puts it into action. And what I've realized, I've known, but what I've realized even more lately is that I am a visionary. Like I don't want to do the day to day. I don't know it. I don't want to know it. I just expect it to be done. And it's like it's like the worst. It's good and bad at the same time because then your expectations are so high, and then I'm not really the best communicator, and I'm trying to work on that. And it's like
Because you're like 7 steps ahead already.
Exactly.
You're like you're back here, like everyone's back here, like waiting for direction, and you're like all the way up here.
Do you believe in that system? You think it works?
I mean, honestly, I can't give my pure perspective. I've seen other people like in my business mastermind implement it and speak very highly of it. I'm not at that level in my business to have used it, so I can't speak on it.
Where are you in your business? Who are you?
I'm still, if you've ever heard of the E-Myth, still a little bit of the technician, a little bit of the visionary. We talk about this all the time, how I kind of fell into being an entrepreneur. And so there's a lot of like identity stuff that goes along with it for me. So I'm on that journey right now.
I think the E-Myth is a good book for us to talk about too. The concept, like if you guys, I think I recommended this book in an earlier podcast, but if you guys have not read that book, read it. It's literally this dude, Michael E. Gerber. It's written really well too because it's like a story, so it's fun to follow. It's not like boring. Like
He uses
boring.
like real life examples.
There's some
examples.
There's some people out there who write like really good business books that are like story, and like I'm so amazed on how they're able to do that. The simplicity and like putting a story. Like Patrick Lencioni does that too. But the E-Myth is about a woman who wants to open a bakery, right? Mm-hmm. And then she wants to open a bakery because she's a baker. And she's like, oh shit, I just want to bake these cakes. And then throughout the story, he's teaching her to say like, hey, if you want to just be the baker or the technician baking the cakes, you're never going to be able to scale your business. And it's true. And I think that's a good lesson for any entrepreneur. Like, shit, I was the baker for a while. I still am a little bit of the baker. But
well, you kind of have to be in the beginning, depending on where you start. Yeah.
So what do you think? Like, yeah, that's a good lesson, right? Like when you first start a business, who says this? Somebody says it where it's like the CEO is the chief everything officer. That's a good one, right?
It is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you fucking do everything from the bottom.
Everything.
Everything. You have to learn everything.
Everything.
Are you still doing that now?
Not everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
What don't you do?
I don't train as many sessions. So I'm delegating some administration tasks as well. Definitely doing most of the marketing, at least coming up with the campaigns and how it's being implemented. Maybe I'm not doing all of the content creation, but yeah.
That's good. So you're starting to remove yourself from it.
With your help.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Thanks.
All right. If we're going to talk entrepreneurship, like for me, people are glamorizing what it is, right? I see a lot of that. It's like, oh, I want to be a business owner, be an entrepreneur. The reality I see is that they're missing the whole bottom half of the iceberg, right?
Yeah. You ever see that like memes of the iceberg or like the guy that's chipping away in a diamond? He's like in a mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's talk the levels then. Like when you first start out, what should you expect in a service-based business is entrepreneurship?
In my experience, what you should expect is to, like you just said, CEO, chief everything officer. You're doing everything. You're making the calls. You're doing the marketing. You're teaching the classes or treating patients, or maybe, if it's a restaurant business, you're serving people, like whatever your service you're providing, you're doing that plus everything else that makes the business, turn on its wheels. So you're really doing everything, and you should expect to do everything. And I think it's helpful to think about what's going to be the number one task or thing that moves me forward to get to where I want to be versus like what's pulling my attention right now. I think you talk about urgency. So just figuring out and prioritizing what's going to be the thing or things that are going to move you forward the most, have the biggest impact.
That's good. What do people do early on? Like what should be their biggest things they focus on?
Lead acquisition, client acquisition, marketing, getting leads, getting people through the door, getting people to pay you essentially so that you can sustain your business and grow and scale.
Yeah. I would say when I first started out too, and I've spoke about this before, is having the realization that when you start out, like you're not going to have money. Like people are like, oh shit, I've been in business 3 months. Why aren't I making money?
3 months.
That's what people think. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I
Well,
mean, maybe you are in the beginning. Maybe perfect example is you own a gym, but you had clients already, and you literally were busting at the seams with clients. And but I guess your startup costs too. There's a lot to consider. It's all It's all there's a lot of gray area. It's not black and white.
how many hours did you put in when you first started?
I didn't even count, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I was there at 6 a.m. I was there till 7 p.m. I had split shifts. I was, just
You were there every day, all day.
all day, every day.
Yeah, same. I mean, I literally worked 2 jobs and then also tried to build my own clientele to start. And it's so wild because like I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and like people will already see where I'm at and be like, oh wow, it must be nice. Like, yo, dude, you put in hours of work when you're a starting entrepreneur. Like, you got to be grinding, and I know that gets overused too, but it's a reality. Like, you have to set your vision ahead of you, and then just commit to it, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing that I see. Like, it's really the commitment. Like, hey, this shit's gonna suck for 3 years. I'm gonna devote all my time to this, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm gonna commit to it, because if you're not committed, it's not gonna be able to be a success.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Just grinding it out for sure, and have the expectation to grind. That's
Expectation.
That is the solid expectation to have.
Yeah, and I would say early on, and I think you touched on it, marketing leads, and then rejection. I remember when I was first started a business. This is a funny one. I went into a bank, and I went to the teller, and I'm like, hey, can I get a business loan? And they literally, it was before COVID, but for some reason they still had these screens up or some shit. They were literally like, how long are you in business? I'm like, I'm just starting. They're like, no. And this was the teller. So like, I didn't even get to meet someone. So now I'm like, holy shit, like, how do people do this? Like, how does this even happen?
Yeah.
Like, the realization that like no one's coming to give you money. Like, you have to have proof of concept before you could even go to a bank.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even care.
No one talks about that. I
No,
feel like.
no.
I mean, maybe you hear that here and there, but I thought the same thing. Like trying to get financing, you have to take out you either have to take out personal loans or
Credit cards.
or build up a cash reserve, bank of friends and family. Like you figure it out, but you think like, oh, SBA, small business loan, like they're not lending to you unless they know that they're gonna get their money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like that would throw me for a loop. I was like, oh shit, like, oh, okay. I guess this isn't gonna be a thing that works. So that's an interesting concept with entrepreneur too. Like, you're not just gonna get money unless you're in tech or something and you want to find a whole different way to do it. But if you're in a small service-based business, like, that initial step is the grinding, and then getting your leads in, and then I don't know. I guess after that would be what sales, like learning how to convert those leads.
Yeah, it depends on the business and how to keep clients coming back too. So yeah, just sales. You mean like the next step?
The next step, like, there's always at every step there's another level's another devil, as they say. So if marketing's your first step and actually making sure you can make money, what's the next step?
Yeah, you could say sales, like you market, you get the people in, you want to make sure that you're getting paid by them and that you're creating a good experience for them to want to come back or tell their friends about it, or just leverage the people that you're already spending money on to come back. So you already put marketing dollars towards that person to get them in. How can you maximize that?
Maximization, yeah, smart. I think that's what happened with us too. Same thing. Like, how do I make sure people continue to come back? How do I deliver the best service? I like that you said that, because that's more important than anything. Because it can't just be money focused. You can't just be like, oh, how do I make money? It's like, no, like, you have to create something that's actually going to be a better delivery than anything else anyone can do, because that's what sets you apart.
Right.
And then you have to have passion for that. Like, you have to really want to be in it.
You.
Yeah, you have to be involved. What are some of the downfalls of being an entrepreneur that people should be aware of if they want to go start their own business, or do have their own business and they're not yet where they want to be?
I think something that you talk about all the time when we talk is like, being an entrepreneur, owning a business is the number one fastest route for self-development and personal development. And there's a lot of negative self-talk that comes along with it. So mentally strong, you have to have a lot of mental fortitude, because when you're down and you're the leader of your company, whether it's a one-man band or you have people underneath you, how do you still show up in a way that doesn't expose that or if you're vulnerable about it, like you're using it to empower others versus a weakness. So I think that's definitely one. That's actually a positive, because you have to learn yourself really well and learn how to overcome adversity really well. So it's actually more of a positive than it is a negative, I think. But I guess the negative would be the negative self-talk. You know, like, and when it comes on, how it comes on. So that would be one. And, you know, for me at points in my business, one of the hardest or biggest challenges that I've had to overcome is like, we talked about problem solving in the beginning, but there have been months when I literally didn't know how I was going to make rent, didn't know how I was going to afford payroll. Those are real. Those are real things. Like, how do you pay for things when you literally don't have the capital to do it? So that is something that, like you said, it's glamorized, but what about those moments that are like, hey, you know, this is a real part of being an entrepreneur. And then also leading people or managing. I know for you, that's always a big one that you talk about, but my teams have been smaller. It's still managing personalities, managing their expectations, there's so much that goes into it. Like, you know, talking to people a certain way to make sure that they show up the way that you want them to for your business. So I think that those, I don't know, I wouldn't call them downfalls, but those are definitely challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's great. I think the point you're talking about, like payroll and stuff like to be an entrepreneur, there's going to be a point in your life where you're not sleeping. Like where you're waking up in sweats. It's happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
heart
fuck.
racing, your mind's running.
It goes hand in hand with it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the excitement of it too, but you have to be okay with that level of uncertainty, right? Like so many people need like this certain paycheck or this certain amount of money. It's like, if you're going to go on the route of building your own business, uncertainty is everything. Like, you don't know. I still don't know to this day. I'm in business 7 years. I don't know what could happen, you know, and there's still a little bit that's like, oh shit, this all can just collapse. So it's something to know that you have to be okay with always touching on some uncertainty or having that in your life. And I think that's an important aspect of being an entrepreneur.
Definitely. I always like say that there's no rule book. There's no black and white. Like, this is how you do this and you execute it this way. Like, when you work for somebody, you are told what to do and you have to execute. When you work for yourself, you have the freedom to do what you want when you want it. And then the downfall of that is if you're not giving yourself the opportunity to put certain resources into play in certain places, then that's definitely a challenge. And just not having that specific structure or rule book that you can follow, that's like, this is how you're guaranteed success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would even say there is no off switch if you're a business owner. Like we talk about that all the time. Like your life has to blend with each other. Like your business and your life have to blend because they go hand in hand. Like I can't just turn this off. This is how we survive, and it's just a part of who we are. Like, no, it's not my identity, but it's also a part of like our lifestyle and who we are. And you have to be okay with that going into business, saying like, you can't just turn it off. Your employees can just shut it off. They can have a weekend where it's fine, but guess what? If something shit goes awry on the weekend, you got to show up because it's all on you at the end of the day. So understand that your life does blend with your business as an entrepreneur, and there's no separation.
So you don't believe in balance?
I believe that it is balanced. I don't believe you should shut it off, and I don't think you can shut it off. But I think it's a part of who you are. I guess no. I guess my definition of balance and the way people say balance is very different than the way balance is. Like, oh, I need to make sure I'm not working on the weekends, or shutting it off and closing my computer. Like, a part of your mind, to me, if you own a business, always has to be on that business, especially if you have employees, because now you're liable for their livelihood. So that there's a lot of burden that comes with that, and you have to be okay with that. And like, you're the leader, you got to be okay with it. So the way balance is seen in my life is very different than the way balance is defined. Is it the same with you or no?
I mean, it's a perspective.
That's what I'm saying. That's my perspective
Of balance. Yeah. I mean, my perspective is, I think what I hear you saying, and maybe like what I agree with, is acceptance that your life is going to be a certain way and being okay with that. You know me, obviously, as a more like feminine person, I am more of a flow person. So I do go off of feel sometimes, and sometimes I don't feel like doing something that I need to be doing to make sure that my business is doing well and growing. So there's definitely a struggle sometimes there, but balance, I don't know. I guess I don't really think about it. To me, I don't think about it because I know that You know, if I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm hanging out with my friends and I'm trying to be with them fully present. Or if I'm with you, trying to be fully present, unless it's like a midday lunch thing or something. But I don't know. I don't know. I can't give a direct answer on
I
how
feel like
about balance.
presence and balance are two different things. You could be present and still
You're
be
no, you're
in
right.
control.
Like, but think about if you're thinking about balance and it's like I'm not looking at my phone or whatever. I think presence plays a part in balance. You know, if you're being intentional about how your time is being spent, then you're saying this time is for this only, and then someone messages you with a work need. Are you going to go run off and do that, or are you going to be in the moment still?
Yeah. Well, it depends on where you are. Like I think there's a point where yes, you want to, like if I come home at night and I'm like, all right, I'm not working past 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Yes, I'm going to shut it down. But if shit hits the fan, I'm going to handle it. You see what I'm saying? Like that's my
So what it
balance.
depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, like we were just away and it's like I still were responsive to my company because I have to make sure it still succeeds and that's okay. I felt fine. I was present, came back jacked up, ready to go after all the pita.
So much pita and feta.
What's the best part about being an entrepreneur? Let's circle around to that and then close this out.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but the best part is the freedom to create what you want to create. I think a lot of people do it so they don't have to answer to anybody, but the reality is if you have clients and they're paying you, maybe you have to answer to them to some extent. You know, you could still be you, do you have your own identity. It's not answering to them, it's more so providing a service that people are going to buy. And just freedom and flexibility, I think, are two really big upsides to entrepreneurship, and realizing that you can have glimmers of that in the beginning, and then as you leverage what you've built, then you have more and more of that as you want it.
That's good. My top one is like creativity. Being entrepreneurship is creative, even if you're super disciplined on the way you do things. It's still creative because you're creating something different, and I feel like that's so dope. Cool. All right, guys, if you like this one, give us a like, a share, follow. If you like hearing her more than you like hearing me, let me know. We'll put her on a little more.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye. Nice job, babe.